Sujit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sujit. So explain about yourself.
Hi, sir. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm Sujit, and I'm having a 2 years of experience as a Java backend engineer in the company Olacaps, which is located in Bengaluru, Karnataka. There, I used to deal with the customer issues. Usually, when the customer has faced any issue regarding the sign up, payments, or pricing, they will obviously contact the customer care. Right? If any of the issue haven't dealt by them, that issue will be moved to my table. If it is coming to under my radar, which includes sign up, pricing, and all, I look into that and find the logs of that and get writing the updated optimizing queries for that and get the data of that, and while looking into the data where the customer has find any issue, where the app is getting any issue, I look into that. If it is comes into mine, I look into that and provide a solution for that by finding the root cause analysis of that and making a runbook of that.
What are the technologies used in it?
Mostly we used with MySQL and with MySQL Workbench and the Postman for the APIs hitting and checking the logs and all, and the log4j, which includes the logs with the date timestamp we find, right? With the timestamp, we can obviously clear the data from there.
So for logs, right?
Yeah.
So did you use any tools like?
Which I usually use was Splunk, where once we hit any of the root level data with info or data or fatal, depending on that debug, which helps us to give, if we give any fatal, it will come all the data includes info, fatal, and debug. If we use only debug,
If I am leaving root level is info, what are the information you will get?
I will get all the details except the debug.
Okay.
Which debugs takes more time, and debugs gives us the more description of the issue we are finding that. So usually when I do that, I will use the debug when I want to debugging. If I find any issue of that, I will go for info.
So if I give the fatal, what happens?
Fatal gives all the information except the info, because it fatal means it includes all the details from the starting of our application to ending of our application, from the starting time, how much time the response is.
What about trace?
What about trace? If we use trace, it will give the exact point where we have find the issue.
Okay.
So depending on that, we can use either info, fatal, or the debug.
Okay, great. So you mentioned Java with microservices in your resume.
Yes.
So explain about microservices.
So usually before also, when we write or any create application, we usually do in the same package or the different package, but we use the object creation for the every class. This improves the tight coupling. So if we do any changes in the background, the other classes might affect. Okay. So to avoid this tight coupling, we come from monolith to microservices. If we do any of our application in the microservices, we can take example of Swiggy or Amazon. There they have divided each of their application into separate parts.
So can you tell me what is the project architecture you created, right? Generally, what are the modules which includes in your project?
The models includes was, I have done the project of order and payment. In order, I have created as it's an open fin, I have created one config, one controller, repository or DTO which I want, and the service layer which acts as a business logic for both.
Already you have a model object, then why should I go for again DTO?
A DTO in the sense when we want to transfer any object from model, we use response body for creating the DTO and moving from that object to our class. So by depending on that, and the flow goes like when any of the client has requested, that client request will obviously go to the dispatcher servlet. In the dispatcher servlet, in the monolith, we don't have any front controller. Coming to the microservices, we have front controller. Front controller includes data source and the packages which our main project includes of. So from there, it will go to the presentation layer. Presentation layer includes controller and all, controller, REST controller, which includes presentation layer. From there, it will go to the business layer. Business layer where we write the business logic, which is at the rate service. From there, it will go to the repository, which is DTO. That is called as persistence layer. From that persistence layers, we will go to the database. In the database, works on the configuration layer. With that configuration layer, we will provide that response which we got from the DB that will pass to the response to the client.
Okay, great. You can consider as a mapping also. Okay. So tell me, in the mapping of that controller, what are the annotations you used?
I have used the annotations like which is at the rate REST controller. If when I want to work with the REST APIs only backend, if I want to present it to the front end, I use at the rate controller, which we get a dot model object. From that model, we can directly returns. When we usually use at the rate REST controller, we usually returns the value what we want. Either it can be a list or the object. When we use @controller, we obviously return the pages what we need. So
Okay.
if we want to see any list, we'll return that list.
That means @REST controller, which includes what are the annotations.
@REST controller, except that we also have @REST mapping, and @REST controller also have component inside of it, which scans all the packages and all. And in that, I have used post mapping.
No. My question is very simple. In @REST controller, what are the annotations which is involving? Tell me, @response body, is it available inside the REST controller?
Which is inside the REST controller, and also that we use request body when we want to map the objects as well. Request body when we are writing any of the method in either put mapping or the post mapping, we create the class which we have entity. For that, if we are getting any object from the database, for mapping our DTO class to that object, we use @request body.
So @request body you given. So for this request, where you will be going to send the data?
Where in the sense, like if you are passing any
Is
of
it a postman or Swagger?
we can either use postman for the basic validations, and we can also use the Swagger OpenAI.
What is the difference between postman and Swagger?
Swagger API is like a UI, which we want to get the response. Usually, we can usually see it in a page with the UI by adding a dependency of Swagger OpenAPI doc, Swagger like that, and with the help of try it out button. Usually, when we create, we don't have to directly give. If we are using Postman, we have to select our method, we have to give our local host the endpoint, then we have to click save, and then we have to send. If we send any request, we usually get the response. But if you are using Swagger, when we write our local host endpoint in the web address, we can directly see what are the methods.
What is the web URL we need to use for Swagger?
Swagger/index.html.
Very good. So tell me the differences between configuration and @bean. In which scenario you used in your projects?
Okay, when I'm working with employee and address service, I have worked on the project called Staff Connect. There, for increasing my knowledge in the microservices, at first I have tried with the REST template. So REST template, the Spring container cannot create a bean with the help of any of the injection with using @autovide. So for that, I have taken an @configuration class. In that configuration class, which will be placed at the class level, in that I have created a bean, in that I have created a method with the help of @bean. For that, I have created an object for the REST template over there. Not only that, and I have used also model mapper. When I want to map the DTO database object to the DTO, there I have used. And one of the project I have working with the Hibernate, where it is resulting the row mapper, where the result set. See, if we are using any Spring Boot, we can directly click save, and we can see the object directly. But when coming to the Hibernate, we are not using JPA here. So from the repository, JPA repository, we don't usually get the save. These all methods, save and update or delete. This method.
What is the major difference between JPA versus Hibernate then?
JPA versus Hibernate. See, most of the tight coupling or the most of the boilerplate code will get reduced. If we
Which one is better?
I prefer JPA because as it getting my knowledge, and the manual code also getting increased, right? So if we want
where it is increasing?
In the service layer.
Okay.
Service layer.
If you are going for Hibernate, you are saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we want to add any post, like if we want to add any data in Spring Boot, we can directly use .save method. But coming to the Hibernate, we have to write our raw SQL. There, insert this and this columns we have to give from to the table like that. But if we write what we want, and if we click the JPA repository.save, we can obviously save that. Here, writing the raw SQL queries have been more easier while writing in the JPA.
Okay. So tell me the difference between, you mentioned one is REST template, another one is OpenFin client. What is the difference between REST template versus OpenFin client? So which one is better, and what is the difference exactly?
The exact difference is like when we are writing REST template, one I have already told is we have to configuration our bean, which includes the boilerplate code, and in REST template is imperative API, because we have to tell where to go and what to do. Imperative in the sense we have to give our local host endpoint API in the REST template with the help of method get for object.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. What is the method name?
Get for object.
What are the parameters we need to pass?
It will take the parameters of our class, not only class, it will take our localhost endpoint, then our class. But coming to the OpenFin, with the help of annotation @enable fin client, which we write in the main method of our Spring Boot class, and there if we have given any base package within the parenthesis, it will directly check for the interfaces which we have written with the help of @fin clients. So if we have not written any base package also, that's not an issue. The response time might get increased. But coming to the OpenFin is declarative. Declarative means we don't have to give our local end host where it is there. If we provide that @fin client annotation in the interface, it will directly look for those annotations and it will directly map and it will directly provide our response.
Great, wonderful. So there is a concept called Java security,
Yeah.
right? So did you implemented any security in your application?
Initially, I have worked with the Java basic security. Java basic security, we have to add a dependency for that from the org.spring framework. In that, the artifact ID and the group ID includes of Spring security. That Spring security usually provides basic password generated in the console when we run our application. With that, if we hit
What
our
is the dependency you added for it?
Spring security,
Only Spring security?
Spring security, and are there also Spring Cloud, I think.
No. What is the full name of that security?